Frustrated with how you were taught crochet? Looking for successful strategies to teach others? This is for you. When it comes to crochet, doing and teaching are two completely different skills. So before we get started, I wonder if you can just think about some of these things. Did you struggle to learn and wish there was an easier way? Has teaching ever left you and your students feeling really overwhelmed and frustrated? Have you realized that granny squares and group sessions and amigurumi might not be the best for beginners? I've been there, and I've seen every single one of these struggles. And if you feel the same, I think I've got some strategies here that will help. This is Strategies to Teach Crochet, frustration-free tips to help you teach others with success. Hi, I'm Salena Baca. I learned to crochet in kindergarten, and believe it or not, I have not put my hook down since. I was taught by sight and word of mouth, making just blankets and granny squares until well into my late 20s. But I had no idea I could be doing so much more. I made all the classic mistakes when learning and teaching. I started with granny squares and amigurumi way too soon, and I also held super long crochet sessions that took hours. But each one of these mishaps was a lesson that just helped me improve. So after years of obsessing over crochet, I learned enough to create the Learn How to Crochet course with Craftsy. I wrote this Learn How to Crochet book, and I developed courses for the American Crochet Association, breaking down everything I discovered about learning how to crochet and teaching crochet. So I want to share these successful strategies I finally learned so that others can have a better start. Because let's be real, it shouldn't take decades just to figure out the basics by accident. My resume highlights what I've accomplished, but only after years of trial and error. I want to start by outlining how I learned to crochet and started to teach it, because I have a feeling that a lot of these experiences are going to sound very familiar to you. Since I learned how to crochet with granny squares, that's how I taught others. But here's the thing. Granny squares are surprisingly complex. They involve chains, double crochet, working in joined rounds, increasing, slip stitch joints, stitch counting, row counting, and complex stitch repeats. Sure, you'll eventually have a blanket, which a lot of people want to project when they're done, but that's a whole lot of things to throw at someone who's probably never even held a hook before and still might be struggling with their own tension. One time, a teenager wanted to learn how to crochet because she found a cute little donut on Pinterest. That's how it brings everyone to crochet, right? And I thought, well, that's just a bunch of single crochet. We can totally do that. But teaching the adjustable loop, working single crochet into it, and then trying to explain increasing for the first 2 rounds, that literally took like an entire afternoon, like hours. She was exhausted. She didn't know what she had actually learned, and we never finished that donut. When it comes to teaching groups, I've actually seen this enough to know that it's a complete disaster. When it comes to teaching groups of beginners, everyone's at a different skill level. They've all got different supplies, and there's just one person that's hopping from person to person trying to give a different lesson based on what that particular person thinks they need to know. Some of these people have never touched a hook. Someone else always brings some kind of specialty yarn or eyelash yarn or something impossible to work with. And there's always at least one person that brings a scarf that they started when they were a kid. It's got wonky edges, and they're wondering how to just crochet straight. This takes hours. Almost everyone in this scenario is frustrated. Everyone's exhausted. After a session like this, most of these people don't learn to crochet, and they don't come back to crochet. So I'm bringing all of these up to consider, are we passing down the best practices? If we're just repeating the same approach, granny squares, amigurumi, groups, and hoping for different results, that's insanity. I want you to ask yourself, are your lessons actually helping people learn to crochet? Or are they leaving students feeling overwhelmed, confused, and ready to give up? If you have frustrating experiences like the ones I've outlined, let's change how we teach. Now, anyone can give 1 or 2 lessons, right? But if you want to help people actually learn how to crochet, you need a clear, structured path. And that starts with the basics. Now, the basics are a beginner lesson plan that I designed, and it's based on the 4 skill levels of crochet that are set by the Craft Yarn Council. These start with beginner level 1, they progress to easy level 2, and they end with intermediate level 3. Experience level 4, however, that's reserved for group workshops, and that's way beyond the beginner level. When a person can confidently demonstrate these items, they have mastered this level. Hold yarn and hook, make a slip knot, basic stitches, chain, single, half double, double. Can they count stitches? Can they count rows? Do they understand right and wrong side of not only the stitches they create, but fabric? Do they know how to read and follow very basic instructions, acronyms, and charts? And can they fasten off? You can use each one of these as a checkbox and just check them off as your student learns them. Some project examples at this level that I use are the chain, single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet. When a person can confidently demonstrate these, they have mastered this level. So again, you can just put a check mark next to every item that your student not only knows, but can demonstrate. All of level 1 learning objectives, choosing the best fiber for projects. Can they read and follow basic stitch and row repeats? Can they learn the slip stitch, particularly in joined rounds? Can they work in tubes? Do they understand right and wrong side and fabric in a tube? When working in joined rounds or tubes, can they count stitches and rounds? Can they change color? They have to have a basic understanding of stitch and fabric gauge and size, and have knowledge of managing yarn ends. Some examples that I like to use are a more complex stitch repeat and row repeat, particularly one that's highlighted with a color change. I like to do something in rows like this washcloth, and something that's small in a tube like this cup cozy. When a person can confidently demonstrate these, they have mastered this level. All of level 1 and 2 learning objectives. Slip stitch, particularly when working increasing rounds. When working in joined rounds and increasing, can they count stitches and rounds? Do they understand the right and wrong side of fabric whenever working increasing rounds? Can they read and follow complex stitch and row repeats? Do they understand basic specialty stitches? And do they understand basic specialty techniques? Some projects I like to use are really small things that are worked in joined rounds that have different stitch repeats, different row repeats, and incorporate a lot of those elements in a very small project. Now, when it comes to level 4, the experience level, this is beyond the beginner level. Could someone learn to crochet by making a special project with most of the basics included? So taking all of those items, all of those learning objectives and the basics, can you pack all of those into one project and that be your lesson? Technically, yeah, but is that going to work for everyone? Absolutely not. So this particular outline is all about dissecting the basics into manageable lessons to build a strong foundation for beginners. Once the basics are set, students can move beyond these beginner strategies and they can make anything that they want. First, let's focus on the basics. Start at the beginning. Even if a student knows a little crochet, start by testing their knowledge and skill in order, beginning with level 1. Use that beginner lesson plan just like a checklist. Don't move past any objective or level until they not only know it, but they can demonstrate it. Next, you're the teacher, you pick the projects. Students may want to skip the basics and start with a specific project, but this approach is totally backwards. Whatever they want to make, they'll be able to, but only after completing the beginner lessons. So maybe you and your students are saying, I don't want to make stitch swatches. Those are boring. You can call them whatever you want. A swatch, a coaster, a bookmark, a square for a blanket, but trust me, mastering basic stitches is going to help your student crochet anything that they want in the future. The basics are like a secret weapon. I hate to use language like that, but it's true. So don't sleep on them. Hype them up and beginners will see the magic happen. I promise. My next tip, less is better. First and foremost, I strongly believe in a student-teacher ratio of being 2 to 1. 2 students for every 1 teacher. Beginners need hands-on help with every stitch. So 1 teacher can successfully help 2 beginners at a time, giving each the attention they need. Once the basics are learned, larger groups and workshop settings are going to be far more effective. I believe in having a 90-minute max session for beginners. When learning something new, people can really only sit, listen, focus, do for about 90 minutes before they feel totally exhausted and overwhelmed. So no more than 2 students per 1 teacher is really going to help to maintain a reasonable time frame for you. You might be saying, I want to host a group to teach beginners. Everyone's welcome. I'm just going to help anyone who wants to learn. Now that may sound awesome, but here's the reality. Beginners need hands-on help with every single stitch. So whenever you're teaching a big group at one time, it usually means that some people are going to struggle, some are going to fall behind, and most are not going to come back for any further lessons. So you want to start small here. 1 or 2 beginners at a time is going to set them and you up for success. Now, once they've got those basics down, those larger groups and workshop settings can be way more effective. Take small steps. Crochet is tricky. Crochet might be easy for you. You could probably do it with your eyes closed, right? But beginners, it's tricky. They have to hold yarn in one hand, a hook in the other, and work those together to create stitches and fabric that look smooth and uniform like yours do because you're the example. That's a whole lot to pack into a lesson. Next, crochet is an entirely new language. Crochet has its own terms, its own words, its own rules, its own techniques and acronyms. So that means a beginner is coordinating their mind and their body to read, decipher, and work all of those things together harmoniously. So remember that and take very small steps in the beginning so that they really can learn. Now, people are going to come to you because they saw something on Pinterest, they saw something on the internet, and they're like, I want to make this thing. Teach me to crochet. Let's make this thing. That is a great goal to work towards. However, there is a lot that you're going to have to know to make something like this without feeling lost or stuck. And like this could be anything. It could be this tank top. It could be amigurumi. It could be a granny square blanket. No matter what they think they want to make, it may not include all of the right learning objectives. So let's start with the basics so that your student can know all of the stitches and all of the techniques that they need to crochet anything that they want with confidence. Can I use this method to teach my friends and family, or is this just for business? This approach works for anyone who wants to teach crochet successfully, whether it's just for fun, your kids, your friends, and your community, or for a paycheck. This is designed to outline and share the absolute basics, no matter who you're teaching or what kind of things they want to crochet. That's the beauty of it. Why not start with projects like granny squares or amigurumi? As exciting as those projects may be in the crochet world and beyond, they are far too overwhelming for beginners without enough basic stitches, techniques, and skills to properly follow along. So whenever you teach the basics first, you're going to build a stronger foundation so that they can tackle any project they want with confidence. Do I need to be an expert to teach crochet? Nope. You just need a solid grasp of the basics and a plan for guiding beginners step by step. So when you follow my strategies and my lesson plan, you can actually build your own crochet knowledge and your skills too. I've taught groups before. What's the big deal? I want you to take a few steps back, sit down, have a glass of water, and think back to those group lessons. How long did they take? Were students excited and engaged the whole time, or did they get bored, overwhelmed, and exhausted? Was everyone at the same level, or did some struggle while others raced ahead? Most importantly, how many of them stuck with it and actually learned to crochet? And how many of them said, this is too hard, I can't do it, I'm exhausted, I'm done? For beginners, 1 or 2 students at a time is gonna be best. I'm telling you, they need hands-on help with every stitch. And once they've mastered the basics, larger groups can be far more effective. If you love crochet as much as I do, you're invited. Come join our dedicated free online community to connect, share, learn, and grow with more than 17,000 crocheters. You can click the link to join or find us on Facebook when you type in group:\American Crochet Association. If you're looking for a hands-on resource, this is it. This book breaks everything down with easy to follow steps that make crochet fun, smooth, and frustration-free. If you're teaching others, this book is going to double as a teaching tool. It includes all of the stitches and techniques that you need to know, plus 28 patterns to follow. Every section is just like a hands-on class, and it breaks everything down into manageable lessons. You can find this book anywhere books are sold. You can click on the link to learn more about this book, what's included, and you can also find some free online tutorials, patterns, and more to help get you started. Now, I hope this outline gives you fresh insights into what works and what doesn't whenever it comes to teaching crochet. But there is so much more that I have to share, so if you're looking to gain even more knowledge, plus even earn a certificate to boost your teaching credentials, you're invited to join my training program that's only available at the American Crochet Association. You can click on this link or just go to our website, americancrochetassociation.blog, and look for our crochet instructor training program today. Thank you for listening. I hope you found value in the strategies and insights that I shared here. If you have any questions or just want to keep this conversation going, reach out. My goal is to help pass crochet to the next generation in better hands than we found it. So if you love crochet too, let's reach our goals together. Peace, love, crochet, everybody. I'll see you next time.